On the 8th of December, coming up in a few months, exactly 1 year after the fall of Bashar al Assad and his government, his Syrian government, New Syria will be launching its new currency on the anniversary date. They're cutting two zeros off the Syrian pound in a bid to try and salvage it for use because it crashed and became near useless during the Syrian civil war because of inflation and all kinds of madness economically. Uh, Now, here's what may surprise you though. Russia is printing the new notes. Russia, didn't Russia support Bashar al Assad? What they're doing now? I thought they hate the Syrian guts. Well, let me get into it. First of all, the new Syrian currency won't have Bashar or his father's face on the notes, obviously. The Syrian pound, nice reference there to Syria's colonial past. It lost 99% of its value since 2011. It was back then. It was 50 Syrian pounds gets you $1. That was the exchange rate. Now it's 10,000 Syrian pounds gets you $1. Meaning switching between um, Syrian pounds and any other currency, really, including the dollar, just doesn't work. Locally, things get by. People can buy and sell groceries and whatnot. But as a functioning economy integrated into the global system, dead in the water, right? That's why Syria's GDP is trash. Now, that all of that though is the challenge of the new Syrian government. They have to salvage the country, lift it from the abyss it's under. It's like trying to salvage the Titanic. Literally, the government is called that. Hukumatul Inqadu Suriya, the Syrian Salvation Government. Now, Syria made a deal with Goznak, Russia's state owned money printer, the same company that printed Assad's currency for years, for about 50 years, Bashar and Hafiz al Assad's. Now, this note is key, what I'm about to say, and I'm not talking about this crisp tenner in my hands. Subscribe to my Patreon, I'm running out of these. This note or this point is very key. The fact that Russia is stepping in to print the money is important. You see, when New Syria emerged last year, many activists got upset because they saw a Russian and Iran backed fragment of Syria that held the capital, Bashar al Assad's government. They saw them fall and they thought, oh, I'm anti-West, I'm pro-Russia, blindly pro-Russia, so I'm very unhappy that Assad has lost his seat. But I, all those months ago, reported the accurate facts that Bashar's government getting ousted was a huge humanitarian relief for the vast majority of Syria. We're talking 80% plus. It was a government of tyranny and repression, analytically speaking, understandable, as Bashar al Assad was part of the Alawite minority community in the far west of the country, though he was installed and he tried to rule over a country that's majority Sunni Muslim, right? 70% plus of Syria is Muslim. For the Alawite minority, Bashar al Assad, to keep a hold on his power, a lot of humanitarian sacrifices were made. Minority rule, analytically speaking, quite often leads to damaging repression on the citizenry. Now, as I pointed out back then, I point out to you now that Russia is not an enemy of New Syria, nor is Iran. Yes, they backed Bashar al Assad, but last year, when the North Syrian forces made their dive for the capital, first Aleppo, they had Aleppo, then Homs and Hama, and eventually Damascus, the capital, Russia and Iran stood down. They didn't throw their weight behind Bashar al Assad to try and save him. They just gave him a plane ticket to Moscow or wherever he's hiding now. Why? My assessment, based on the evidence at hand, was and continues to be that Russia and Iran accepted the immediate loss of their faction, their man in Syria, in exchange for potentially a stronger ally later on. After all, Ahmed al-Shara is no slave to the West, the new Syrian president. He's dancing the political dance, yes. He's got many, even of you, fooled, yes. He's being diplomatic, yes. He's shown so far that he is a smooth operator. He's a man with a beard who could very much be wearing a qamis and a turban and look very Muslim, but instead, when engaging with the West, he puts on a suit, he puts on a tie, he wears the rabbit ears. as it were. Game of Thrones reference. If you want to be king of the rabbits, you must don your fluffy ears, right? He's playing the diplomatic game in order to lift his country out of madness, out of poverty. And playing the game for Syria is not the same as it is for Egypt or the Gulf monarchies. Subservience, at least not yet. Subservience is not or the order of the day. Syria hasn't had to submit themselves to the West because they can threaten to the West right now. They can threaten to Europe. They can threaten to America. If you don't support us in any capacity, we can absolutely pivot to China, we can pivot to Iran, we can pivot to Russia, we can join the global south right now. And that's why that was my analytical assessment. That's why, Syria is not particularly hated by the global south players or Europe or America, because all sides really see Syria as potentially a future ally in the region. So New Syria, attempting to rise, seems to be on good terms, in this case as we were talking about, seems to be on good terms with Russia. It's for Russia and for Iran an investment, a unified, a stable Syria may very well align itself, as developing nations seem to be doing more nowadays than before. They may align themselves with China and the global south eventually. In which case, for Russia and Iran, they've traded in Assad holding a third of a broken country for a unified, prosperous Syria where the administration holds almost the whole country and in the future might benefit Iran and or Russia. It's like a Pokemon or a Digimon that's evolved after you give it some support and some space, and it has literally a glow up. Now, the fresh currency is one more step in the right direction, but what Syria needs really is time. Time and the chance to get back up on its feet. So its 20 million strong population may finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. There is one country trying to keep Syria from standing up. You probably know who I'm talking about. Suddenly, they care about the Druze in the south, in the Sueda province of South Syria. More on that in future videos, and I've already covered the deep geopolitical analysis of why instability in the south, in Daraa, in Suwaida, in the Golan region, why is instability there bad for Syria, and why is it good for potentially some other neighboring country? Do we know what we're talking about? Maybe South Syria was promised to a certain group a few thousand years ago. For the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It continues to be a pleasure. I'm Mahfuz, or NewsBaba, if you will, and I shall see you on the next one.